you ready to branch out, to take a leap of faith, to love yourself and others fully? Then let go of whatever no longer serves you to take action now on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Erica will energize and excite you to power up your passionate dream that sets your soul on fire. With Erica's E3 approach, equipping, empowering, and enlightening yourself so you can be yourself for yourself. Get ready and get rooted to live a life without regrets, without what ifs, without should haves, and especially without empty feelings from a life unexplored. This hit show helps you build powerful and intentional roots to live it up, love it up, and let it go. Get fearlessly ready and powerfully rooted in your yes with your host, Erica Gifford Mills, and be fearless about your more and stand in your yes. Now on Get Rooted Radio.
Well, welcome everyone. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. A big shout out, as always, to my producer today, Nat. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Erica. I'm excited for another one.
Yes, me too, especially for my guest today, because today's episode is titled Unlocking Career Success. And my guest, Michael Morgan, will provide some guidance on how to unlock career success as we dive into topics ranging from networking, influencing, and personal and professional development, which are all so important. And if you aren't doing it, this is an episode that you definitely want to stay tuned for. We'll go over guidance to ensure that you not only obtain new opportunities and excel in your role, but also share insight for all you listeners to advance in your career. But I'd like to tell you a bit about my guest. Michael Morgan has over 15 years of work experience across companies such as Amazon, Walmart, JP Morgan Chase, and Chevron. He has a passion for teaching and inspiring others to achieve their goals, which led him to write his first book, which I had the honor of seeing in person, The Power of Networking, and really begin his journey as a motivational speaker. And he is incredible. So if you get the opportunity, make sure you get a chance to listen to him. And The Power of Networking won the literary, wow, goodness, Titan Book Award, the Global Book Award, the International Impact Book Award, Pencraft Book Award, and Firebug Book Award. Congratulations, Michael, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and be a guest on the show.
Well, I'm so glad that we met in Phoenix, Arizona, and that we were able to arrange for you to be on the show, because I think people are really going to benefit to listening to what you have to say. So during this first segment, I want to talk about building and maintaining relationships. So the first, right out of the gate, was there a specific moment in your career or life when you realized the importance of networking?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I understood the value of it immediately going into the workforce right out of college. So while I was an undergrad at Penn State, I was putting together events on campus. I was well involved on campus. I was a president of an organization called Black Male Leadership Symposium. I was a treasurer for my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi. I put together an event where I had representatives from JP Morgan come and speak to the students on campus. And they were so impressed with the event. One of my fraternity brothers at JP Morgan found out about the event, and he reached out to me about opportunities to work for JP Morgan. And I'd never met this individual before, but just based off the fact that I put together a great event and we're a part of the same fraternity, he started like bringing different opportunities for me to come in and interview at JP Morgan. So he helped me craft my resume. He helped me with interview prep. And once I joined JP Morgan, there was an entire network of my fraternity brothers already at the company. I was based in Delaware, but I had a connection of fraternity brothers in New York, Delaware, Ohio, Florida, that all gave me a support system to make sure that I was successful at JP Morgan. So one, I don't even know if I would have had my foot in the door with JP Morgan if I didn't leverage my network. And then I don't know if I would have been as successful if I didn't have that support system, that network in place. So I immediately knew the importance of networking as soon as I started my first role out of college.
Yeah, and that's so important because a lot of times we join organizations just because there's similar interests. And we don't always look at what could happen? What could we do for those people in that organization, or what could they do for us? And I really want to emphasize, folks, it's not about just joining to get something out of something else, right? The road has to go both ways. So before we get into that, because I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the program, but what are some benefits of networking that people don't even realize?
Yeah, I would say number one, it helps you get your job done. I tell people this all the time, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners may have already experienced this. There are a lot of times I'll go into meetings, I'll be assigned a task. I have no idea how to do it. I can either figure it out on my own, or if I have the right network in place, I can reach out to individuals who can point me in the right direction or show me how to do it. So, first and foremost, when it comes to your career growth and development, I think a lot of people have this mindset where I need a network to move up. If you don't get your job done and do it well, you will not move up. And your network can help you when it comes to that aspect. You don't know everything. I don't know everything. But if you have the right people in your circle, you can ensure that you can figure things out when you need to. So I'd say that one is very overlooked. And I'll say a second piece is your overall job satisfaction. We
Oh,
spend so much time at work. Sometimes we spend more time with our colleagues than we do with our family and friends. And if you're able to effectively build relationships with your peers, it'll make your job that much more enjoyable on a day-to-day basis. So these are some things that people overlook. I think people are just always looking at networking as a way to get my foot in the door at companies or a way for me to move up, but they're not considering the fact that it can help me get my job done and make it a more enjoyable experience while I'm working in that role.
I couldn't agree more because as you said, it's not just that work-life balance because there are going to be so many times where you're going to be, if you think of it as a teeter-totter or a balance scale, right? There are times we're going to be like this, but that's when we have to say, is that mission that we're working for important? Are the people that we're surrounding ourselves with going to influence us in positive ways? And then when you do that and you can reach out and you can get support personally and professionally in the time that you spend at work. I mean, we all spend mostly a minimum 40 hours a week. And if you think about that, take away the sleeping time, take away the chore, duties, responsibility time. How much time are you spending with your loved ones a week? And if you aren't doing that appropriate networking, it's going to make things so much more stressful. I want to know, what are some pitfalls people should avoid when networking? So we know the benefits, right? We've got lots of benefits and some things that maybe people don't think about, but what are pitfalls that people should try to avoid?
Yeah. So I'll say the first pitfall, you brought it up earlier. Networking is a two-way street. So I see a lot of people, they'll meet somebody, they'll build a relationship, and immediately within a day, a week of meeting them, they're already asking for things. Can you help me get this job? Can you give me a referral? Can you help me with a resume? Can you do this? And it can rub people the wrong way.
Hmm.
So you want to make sure that one, you're taking the time to build the relationship and you're not just asking for things immediately. And then two, what I always tell individuals, I always emphasize the give. So when I meet someone new in and add them to my network, I'm asking how I can help them. Maybe it is a job referral. Maybe I help them with a resume. Maybe I recommend a book. Maybe I recommend an article. There's different ways that I can help people based off what they're looking for, but I'm not asking for something first. There are a lot of people in my network I've never asked of anything. But the fact that I'm always willing to give and help other people is the process of reciprocity. So people naturally want to help me in any way that they can because I've gone out of my way to do something for them.
Yeah.
So the number one pitfall, make sure that you understand networking is a two-way street. Emphasize the give. That's very critical. I'll say another pitfall, it's very easy to make a new connection. It's difficult to maintain the connection.
Yes.
So what I see all the time is that people will go to networking events and conferences and they'll connect with people, they'll add them on LinkedIn or any other social media platform, won't speak to them for years. And all of a sudden they need something 5 years down the road. They say, oh, this person's a part of my network. And then you reach out for something. At that point, that's not a valuable connection. You spoke to them once at a conference 5 years ago. You've never followed up with them. And the first time you reach out is when you need something. So I always tell people, make sure you're following up with people periodically and treat everybody different. There's some people in my network I reach out to weekly, some monthly, some quarterly. So determine based on your relationship with that individual, what cadence you want to follow up with them. But make sure you're regularly touching base with people so you're maintaining that relationship. And it's not just I met them one time and I'm connected to them on social media, so we're connected. Like actually put the effort into to build and maintain that relationship.
It's just like you've got to cultivate it. You just if you plant something and then you don't weed it, you don't water it, you don't give it sunshine, it's not going to grow. But if you expect it to, that's on you, right? I couldn't agree more. I find myself sometimes forgetting to do that. And I know I need to. It's not that it's an unknown, but sometimes I forget. And then it's like, so then I try to like, you know what? I haven't reached out to this person in a while. Let me just, touch base with them. How are you doing? And it is so important to do just with any relationship, personal and professional, because you put them in your network for a reason. So before we go to a break, I want to know one last question is, do you have any specific tips you would recommend for those seeking to expand their network?
Yeah, if you want to expand your network, the biggest thing I tell people all the time, you have to put yourself out there. I know it sounds simple, but I know some people are more extrinsic, some are intrinsic. I would say within your company, there's lots of ways where you can meet new individuals. I'm a big fan of employee resource groups. So a lot of companies have employee resource groups. They'll have a women's network, a Black network, a Hispanic network, and that's an opportunity for you to meet other individuals that may not be within your team, within your organization, but you can build your network internally within the company. I love leveraging 6 degrees of separation. So I'll reach out to my manager and ask for recommendations of people I should meet and add to my network. I'll reach out to my skip level. I'll reach out to my mentor, and they can connect me with someone else in the company. And that's how I can expand my network. Outside of my company, I'm a big fan of one, joining organizations, and two, going to conferences. So there's tons of organizations that are relevant for your industry, for your function. Right now, I work in cybersecurity. I joined an organization called Cyversity, which tries to get more diversity in cybersecurity. Also a member of the National Black MBA Association. I do a mix of program management and strategy. I joined the Project Management Institute. So I'm finding relevant organizations that make sense for me to join, where I can find other like-minded individuals in my function, in my field, in my industry. I'm also attending conferences. I attend at least 1 to 2 conferences a year. So whether it's a cybersecurity conference, Innotech, National Black MBA, Afrotech, Lesbians Who Tech, Grace Hopper Celebration, Salesforce, Tableau, I'm always finding relevant conferences that I can attend, and that's another mechanism for me to build my network as well. But like I said, first step, you have to put yourself out there. If you're more intrinsic, I wouldn't recommend an intrinsic person to go to a conference of 10,000 people and make 100 connections, easier way into it. I'm more on quality over quantity. So
Yes.
make sure that you get a great like relationship added to your network as opposed to just getting as many numbers as possible. But you have to put yourself in these situations where you can actually meet new individuals to add to your network.
That's great. So let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the ability to influence. But before we go, Michael, tell folks how they can connect with you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, my name is Michael Morgan, PMP. I have my project management professional certification. So if you search by my name, Michael Morgan, PMP, if you search by the URL, it's Michael V as in Victor, Michael V Morgan. I also have my own website. My website is michaelvmorgan.com. So you can go on my website. I have a contact me form. You can contact me directly. But whether you want to reach out on LinkedIn or through my website, I'd love to connect with your listeners.
Thank you so much. You're listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any portion of today's episode, you can catch it on getrootedradio.com. Don't forget to subscribe online to receive the latest news, events, specials, and words of encouragement. Go to getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Michael Morgan. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, it's a pleasure to be here.
So, during the last segment, we discussed building and maintaining relationships, how it's a must to put ourselves out there and then remember to cultivate those relationships. And it's a two-way street. But during this segment, we want to discuss the ability to influence. So, let's just kind of start right off. What strategies do you use to gain buy-in from others, whether that's on a personal project or a professional project?
Yeah. So I would say a few different things. One, data is critical. I'm a very analytical person. I don't go into any situation where I'm making a recommendation and I don't have the data to support it. So to me, I credit Amazon. Amazon has really great perspectives on how to influence others. But at Amazon, they don't use weasel words. So you can't say usually, most. If I go into a meeting and I'm trying to influence people and I say that, I'm going to get laughed out the room. So if I go into the meeting, I need the data to support it. I can't say most customers want their packages in a short time frame. I have to go in there and say 87% of customers have said that if they don't receive their packages within 1 to 2 days, they will buy their products from a different platform. And here's the data to support it. So if you're going to influence people, number one, make sure you have the data to show what the current state is, what the issue is, what the value add is, how much additional revenue could this generate, how much cost can this save, how much cycle time can this reduce. Have the numbers to support whatever direction you're trying to push for.
Oh,
So
data driven, because I think that is really important because some of us forget to do that. And that's in personal and professional, right? If you're trying to convince family to do something on, or even your colleagues, or your entrepreneur, and you're trying to do that, if you don't have the facts and data behind it to support what you're saying, a lot of people aren't going to buy into it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then another piece that I would add as well, I'm really big on diversity of thought. So
Yes.
when I say diversity of thought, there's two things. One, diversity of thought ensures that I'm thinking of every possible scenario to make sure I'm making the best decision. So I work in program management strategy. I'm coordinating with product management. I'm coordinating with engineering, with legal, with HR, with finance. We're getting as many perspectives as possible. So there's no stone that hasn't been uncovered, unturned. We're thinking of every possible scenario, and that's helping get the best decisions. So now when I'm influencing others, we have all the perspectives. Everyone's been a part of the decision making, and this is the best possible solution. So making sure that you're involving all the right stakeholders, parties, so you have that diversity of thought, that's critical. And then not only does diversity of thought ensure that you're thinking of all possible scenarios, people are more willing to accept change when they're involved in the process. So if I just went to all these different teams and I said, okay, currently today our process is X, tomorrow we're doing Y, and I'm just telling them what to do, it's going to rub people the wrong way. People already don't like change. But if you involve them in the decision making and they're a part of the deciding factor on what the change is, they will be more willing to accept the change. So I'm a big proponent of diversity of thought on top of making sure that you have the analytics and the data to support how you're influencing.
Don't do it in silos, right? Collaboration is key on this, especially because you might not be the SME, the subject matter expert on all of it, or you may not be thinking how does it affect other departments. And if you can pull those people in, I can imagine that will help in handling resistance from those others because they were part of the process. They're part of the solution, right? And that makes it easier to say, yeah, let's move forward. But I wonder, how do you handle when, even though you do all those things, right? You have the data behind it, you have their input. How do you handle that resistance when you're trying to influence somebody and they're still like, I don't know. I don't think that's the best effort. Are there other things that you can try or do?
Yeah, I would
Or,
say,
right?
yeah. I would say two things. One, get teams to focus on the big picture. And two, tie things in with the company mission and values. So, as an example, most companies that I've worked for, the number one tenant value that we focus on is making the customer happy. The customer is the number one priority. So if I have teams pushing back and saying, I don't know if that's the best solution, if that's the best path forward, I'm saying I'll let them know like, hey, our company, our values are focused on what does the customer want and putting them first and their priority. The data shows this. The customers are asking for this. This appears to be the best solution to make the customer happy. So when I get them to think about the big picture, a lot of times teams will push back because they may have their own interest on uh, what the workload for that team may be or the downstream effects of their specific team. If I get them to put on their thinking hats and look at the big picture of what's best for the company, what's best for the customer, and bring in the company mission, the company values, that generally helps steer the conversation. So make sure that you're able to tie that in, and that can really help when different teams or organizations are pushing back.
Yeah, and I like that, tying it to the mission statement, the values, and what is our overall goal. And I think it's also really important that we look at how does this impact not just the company itself, but the workforce. Because I know I've had an initiative recently that would have been I don't want to say right thing to do, but yes, we would love to do this. However, it's not required. There's other things that are required that we're still working to achieve. And this would put a lot of pressure on our staff. And then we're going to have people who are unhappy. And if they leave, what are we going to do then for the things that are required as opposed to this nice to have? So when you look, like you said, at that whole big picture and how not only the company will benefit or not benefit, but also the staff, because if the staff doesn't benefit, or I don't want to say benefit, doesn't or is overstressed, right? Or that's too much work now to put on them, you're going to lose staff, and that's not going to be good for the company either. So I think when you do have all those, as you said before, the strategies to get everybody's buy-in, and you don't leave it up to just the leaders, because I'm big on that. And for years I worked in compliance, and while our maybe VPs need to buy into something, I always have line staff included because they're the ones who are doing the work and they're the ones who are closest to it, and they can say, yes, this is what's going to happen. Yes, this is how much work it's going to actually take. Because when you have too high of a view, that 1,000-foot view, and you're not in the trenches, we need that opinion because that's what's going to make it work or fail.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I've seen throughout my career, I've seen a lot of burnout where teams are just assigned a observant amount of work that they can't perform, and now they're like you said, they're overstressed. They don't feel appreciated. They're overwhelmed, and eventually they end up either switching teams or leaving the company altogether. So when these conversations happen, I will bring up if there's resource constraints, maybe we can bring in some temporary resources. Maybe we can hire some contractors. Maybe we can bring in some full-time employees. Let's figure out what the cost is, like what would be the impact to the business. And if we can't bring in additional resources, one of the things I also try to bring up, how can we work smarter, not harder? Is
Yes.
there any
But efficient,
automation?
right?
Yeah. Can we bring in any type of automation efficiency where today maybe it's taking an individual 4 hours, 5 hours to complete this task? Can we bring in some automation that can reduce it to a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
So that way we're not dependent on just hiring more resources. We can find other ways to be more efficient with our time as well.
I love that. Well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the path for personal and professional development. But before we go, Michael, tell folks how they can connect with you and learn more about your award-winning book.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you can connect with me directly on my website. My website is V is in Victor, michaelvmorgan.com. I have a contact me form on there so you can connect with me directly. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. If you search by my name, it's Michael Morgan PMP. I have my project management professional PMP certification. So Michael Morgan PMP. If you search by the URL, it is Michael V. Morgan. So whether it's LinkedIn or my website, I'd love to connect with you.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Don't forget to visit getrootedradio.com to listen to a replay of this episode, sign up for helpful tips, and learn about upcoming events. That's getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Michael Morgan. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So if you missed it, during the last segments, we've talked about building and maintaining relationships, how we need to cultivate them, make sure that it's a two-way street, as well as the ability to influence, making sure that we have data-driven information to share, how we can make sure that we get these subject matter experts involved and make it a group decision. And I'm not saying group think, but a group decision so that it reduces the amount of resistance that you get because you have everybody at the table when you're making that decision. But during this segment, we're going to talk about the path for personal and professional development, because I don't care how old you are, what career you're in, we can always continue to develop personally and professionally. So I would just open it up, Michael, for that. What steps do you recommend people take for personal and professional development?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say I have a plethora of steps. Like you said, the journey for learning never ends.
Yes. Lifelong learners, people, always.
Exactly. Number one, in my opinion, find a mentor or mentors, plural. Every company I've worked for, I've had mentors. Even when I've left companies and joined new companies, I've kept in touch with my mentors. Mentors has been extremely helpful for me. There's always going to be someone who's been in your industry or your function, your company longer than you that you can learn from. So one, you have to identify mentors. A lot of companies and organizations will have formal mentorship programs where you can apply and you can list what your strengths are, your areas for opportunity, what you're looking for in a mentorship relationship, and they'll naturally pair you up with an individual. Even in those situations where there may not be a formal program, once again, this is a situation where you may have to step outside your comfort zone and ask individuals organically. If you're working on a project or on a team in an organization, you see somebody that you aspire to get to their role, get to their level, you know that they're a subject matter expert, ask them the questions. A lot of people are scared to ask the question. 9 times out of 10, when I ask someone to be my mentor, they're flattered. They're more than willing to take me on as a mentee. The only time I've had pushback, one person I've asked to be my mentor was already mentoring 3 or 4 individuals, and they just felt overwhelmed. And even in that situation, they connected me with someone else to be my mentor. So they didn't just flat out turn me down. But you have to identify mentors. That's step number one. And then I'd say two, the onus is on you as a mentee. So I've seen people get paired with a mentor and they're not taking the responsibility to set up meetings. They're not coming in with an agenda. They don't have questions that they want to ask. They don't know what they want to get out of the mentorship relationship. They're not taking follow-up actions when the mentor suggests certain steps for them to take. And then they're saying that it's not a great relationship. This responsibility is on you. It's not their job to be your mentor. So if someone's willing to invest their time, be respectful of their time, be prepared, and know what you want out of the relationship. Come into those meetings with specific questions, specific topics, and make sure you're taking those follow-ups and setting up those recurring meetings to follow up with them again. But number one, when it comes to professional development, definitely mentorship.
Yeah, and you said something that struck with me, because I am very, very uncomfortable being vulnerable and asking for help. Professionally, I'm not. Professionally, like, I want to learn, I want to know. So don't let your ego get in the way, because you don't know it all. There's always somebody who's going to know more than you, and you can learn from them. But I think it's also, like you said, it's not on the mentor to tell you. They don't know what you know or what you don't know. So make sure that you are being open and honest to say, you know what? If you're just getting into a career, and say, I don't know a lot, so I don't know what I don't know. What are the number one things that you think I should know? And be coachable. I think many times, as a coach myself, many times people think I'm going to solve their problems for them. I'm not. I'm human. I can give you tools for your tool belt, but it's up to you to take action and follow through with that. If you automatically dismiss anything that your mentor or coach or whatever says, you're not being coachable and you can't move forward because it won't allow you to. So check your ego at the door and be open to feedback, constructive and critical feedback, and take action. Because if you don't take action, everything's going to be as it always was.
Exactly.
So,
So
along those lines, what can people do to stay accountable? I know you had mentioned, setting those follow-up meetings, but what other things can people do to stay accountable when you are trying to grow personally and professionally?
yeah, absolutely. So like you saying stay accountable within the mentors relationship or outside of the mentors?
I think both, because I think with a mentor relationship, there are specific actions you can do, but like outside of that, what if you're in a company that really doesn't do that sort of thing and you have to find somebody outside the company that can help you? What can you do to stay accountable to that overall development?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where I said it's valuable to attend conferences, to join organizations, because those are other opportunities where you can meet mentors. So, as I said, as an example, when I joined the cybersecurity industry, the first organization I joined was Cyversity, which is an organization that tries to get more diversity in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
They had a mentorship program. So I was able to pair up with someone who's been in cybersecurity for 15 years that I could learn from and I could grow from. And if I didn't join that organization, I wouldn't know about that opportunity to find that mentor. Or, like I said, I've attended conferences that are specific for cybersecurity. And the same thing, I'm finding other individuals who've been in the industry longer than me that I can learn from. So it doesn't just have to be me finding mentors within my company. Leveraging organizations, conferences is extremely helpful. And then for me personally, I keep a template document that I use with all my mentors so that when I meet with a mentor, I already have all my questions lined up. I have an agenda, I have a plan, I know exactly what I want out of the relationship. So that way I have structure. I'm not just showing up to a meeting and winging it and trying to figure out how I can get benefit. I already have a plan when I go into the meeting. So having a plan will go a long way. I just feel a lot of people would just set up meetings with mentor and just kind of improvise on the spot, and that
Yeah.
doesn't work well. I'm big on preparation. You have to plan ahead. So whether you're creating your own document to keep you structured, you're leveraging another document that's may already be in place, but you have to be structured.
No, and I think that's important because it also goes back to what you said about respecting your mentor's time. They're doing this for you. Let's give them the respect that they deserve on that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
I have a lot of clients who are thinking of changing careers, and I know sometimes they get caught up on, but I spent, 4 years, 8 years, whatever it might be, of my education going for this, but it's just not what I love. And I've always said, sometimes I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, right? Because my interest, everything evolves. And I laugh at people. I'm like, if you think you're the same person you were at 18 or at 25 and you're now 50, you're not. We all change, and I would hope we change, right? We change. But what are your thoughts on pivoting careers, and what actions do you recommend to help others interested in doing so?
Yeah, I actually love this topic because I pivoted multiple times. Like you said, I started off in financial services. I moved to oil and gas. I switched to tech. I switched to retail. Now I'm in cybersecurity. So I've done it a bunch of times. First and foremost, what I love to tell people all the time, you have a set of transferable skills, regardless of what company, what industry you go to that you can bring to the table. I have leadership skills, communication skills, analytical skills, influencing skills. So make sure you're highlighting and honing in on those transferable skills that you can bring. But as far as helping you get up to speed and make the transition, one, I'm a big fan of graduate school if you want to make a career pivot. So, I mean, before I did graduate school, I was more focused on the finance side. after graduate school, I made a pivot to more operations strategy. But going to graduate school is a great opportunity for you to make a pivot. Also, I'm a big fan of, as I said, organizations, conferences. So when I joined oil and gas and I moved to Houston, Texas, I joined the Young Professionals in Energy. I joined the American Association of Blacks in Energy. So now, yes, I'm new to the energy industry, but I'm getting my knowledge and acumen and joining different organizations that's going to help me get up to speed so I can be more effective in my role. When I made the jump over to Amazon, I switched to a role as a program manager. I joined the Project Management Institute. And that's a way for me to be surrounded by other project managers, program managers, product managers, and I can learn from those individuals. So you can make transitions and find relevant organizations that can help get you up to speed in a new industry, in a new function. Same thing with conferences. I go to conferences all the time. I made a jump to program management. I go to ProductCon. So, and that's a conference full of product managers and program managers that you can learn from. So there's different ways you can get up to speed when you're making a transition to different industries, different companies. I'm also a big fan of books. I know obviously I'm an author, so I write books, but I read books all the time as well. So when I joined oil and gas, I read two books. One is called The Prize, one was called The Quest, and that helped me get up to speed and learn the history of the oil and gas industry. When I joined Amazon, I read The Everything Store, which highlights Jeff Bezos' thought process when he built Amazon and where he's brought it to today. When I joined Walmart, I read Made in America, Sam Walton's book, and I understand how Sam Walton built out Walmart to where it is today. So there are books that you can read to get you up to speed on the history of the company you're joining, to get you up to speed on the industry you're joining. So between conferences, organizations, books, there are a lot of things that can help you with the transition when you're trying to go into a new company or industry.
Thank you, Michael. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to finish out the show with how failure is the key to success. This is Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any information during the last segments, go to getrootedradio.com to listen to the replay. Don't forget to subscribe, sign up for tips and special events and pricing for upcoming coaching sessions at getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Michael Morgan. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you again for having me.
So we've dove deep into some great topics. So the last few segments, we discussed building and maintaining relationships, how it is a two-way street, not a one-way street, making sure that we are cultivating those relationships once we've met somebody at a conference or a mentorship program, the ability of how to influence others, whether that's in our community, in our offices, or in our personal lives, and the path for personal and professional development. And during this last segment, we're going to talk about how failure is key to success. And I love this because there's a saying, and forgive me, I can't remember who it is, but it's fall down 7, get up 8, right? And I truly believe it is a mindset. I've had so many things that I have failed at, but I don't consider them failures because it was an opportunity to learn how not to do it. And people often have that mindset that they can't fail, or if they fail, it's bad. So I want to know from you, what is your perception of failure?
Yeah, similar to what you said, it's all about your mindset. If you go into the situation thinking that failure is a bad thing, or you're scared to fail, you're not going to grow and develop. Because I know we talked about professional development, personal development. This is how you learn. This is how you get better. If you look at failure as a growth opportunity, it's a way for me to learn from my mistakes and be better next time. Let me acknowledge it. Let me learn what can I implement to make sure that the same thing doesn't happen again? How can I do better? How can I make sure that others around me don't face the same situation? If you look at it from that perspective, how can I grow? How can I improve? It is going to help you grow tremendously in your career. But you can't be afraid to fail. No one's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. It's a part of your maturation process in your professional career, in your personal life. You can't be afraid to fail. You have to be able to willing to take risk, and that's going to help you be successful in your career. But you have to change your mentality. Failure is not a bad thing. If you make a mistake and you keep making the same mistakes, that's a problem. If you make a mistake and you learn from it and you grow and improve, now that's success.
Yes, it is. And so even a failure can be successful. And if we have that mindset, it's just so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Uh, what what about also mindset? So I've had a lot of people say, I don't know enough. I don't have the work experience, and so I don't know what to do. Have you had any work experiences that did not provide maybe the results that you expected or the experience that you expected? And if so, what did you learn from those opportunities? I always like to call them opportunities, right? Instead of failures, those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've worked on a couple of projects, different companies, organizations that haven't resulted the way that I intended it to. One of the things that I always do at the end of any deliverable task that I work on, and different companies will have different names for it. Usually I usually use the term post-mortem, but it's a look
Yep.
back process. So what worked well? What didn't work well? What can we improve? So it's not a matter of, hey, I worked on one project and I just jump right to the next project. I work on a project and then I do self-reflection to figure out how can I be better for the next project. And that's a part of growth, development. That's getting into the what we're discussing with failure. Hey, this went wrong. What can I do next time to make sure these same mistakes don't happen again? Can I implement certain protocols that will ensure that this never happens? Can I add in some certain safety features, regulations, guardrails? So not only am I thinking about myself, I'm thinking about the greater team, the greater organization. If this mistake happened with me, potentially it can happen with others. How do I make sure that the same mistake doesn't happen again with me, with anybody? But that's part of the growth. That's the maturation where I'm taking the time to do a look back and figure out what worked well and what didn't work well. So it's always moving in a better direction as I'm moving forward with other initiatives moving forward.
Well, and I think that's one of the steps that many folks stop when the project, when the audit, when the whatever is done. They don't go back and say, what worked right? What went wrong? What can we do to fix it in the future so we don't have those issues? And if you don't do that, as you said, postmortem or the debrief or best practice sharing, we lose that. And I think we can learn from our mistakes or, oh, you know what? We didn't consider this as part of the project. Next time, let's consider it. And I think that makes for a lot more growth in many areas. So I know we're starting to come to the end of the show, which I think we could talk for another hour about all this. But do you have any specific steps or recommendations for our listeners to prevent failures or increase, as I said, opportunities in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say one, as far as prevent failures, ask people questions. A lot of people are scared to ask questions. There may be a reason why things are being done the way they are. So what I see a lot of times, someone new will join a team, they'll join an organization, they'll have all these great ideas. They want to perform X, they want to perform Y, but they haven't taken a step back to understand why things are the way they are. Like the company could have already tried that, or maybe they didn't even try that because of legal reasons, financial reasons. Make sure you're doing your due diligence to understand why things are being done the way they're being done today. Like I said, I'm big on diversity of thought. So reach out to as many teams as possible to get different perspectives from finance, HR, legal, engineering, and that way you can make sure that there's nothing that you haven't taken in consideration. So that way you don't make any mistakes. I think that's critical as well. And then, like I said, to me, the big thing to focus on, if you do make a mistake, acknowledge it, own it. I don't like when I go into meetings and it's just a bunch of finger pointing. Oh, this team did it. This team did it. It's not my fault. This isn't about putting blame on individuals. It's about figuring out how can we make sure that the same mistake doesn't happen again? How can we be better? So if you do make a mistake, it happens, acknowledge it, own it, figure out how can I do better? How can we improve? How can I improve as an individual? How can we improve as a team, as an organization? I think if you have that mindset on growth and development and improvement, that is going to set you a long way. But you can't be afraid to fail. Mistakes happen. It's a part of growth. It's a part of maturation.
Thank you, Michael, for being on the show today and for all the great information. Tell folks how they can reach out to you to learn more information.
Yes, absolutely. You can reach out to me directly on my website, V is in Victor, michaelvmorgan.com. I have a contact me form on my website. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you search by my name, it's Michael Morgan, PMP. I have my project management professional certification. So Michael Morgan, PMP. If you search by my URL, it's Michael V. Morgan. As I said, I'd love to connect with your listeners, and I hope to hear from everybody soon.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to Get Rooted Radio. If you missed any part of today's episode or want to listen again, go to getrootedradio.com for the podcast. And don't forget to tune in the first and third Monday of each month at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific right here on Transformation Talk Radio. And just want to do a little call out for all you powerful women. I want you to be a co-author in the Like a Woman trilogy, a bold collaboration celebrating real stories of resilience, leadership, and unapologetic power. Your story so deserves to be in these books. And I'm looking for fierce women who are ready to rise, speak up, and lead, live, and love out loud. Because these aren't just books. They are a movement, a sisterhood, and a legacy. If you're ready to break molds and inspire others, this is your invitation. Reach out to me. And on one last personal note, if you are hurting or need help, please know the world needs you and it's a better place with you in it. Don't let the hard days win. Reach out for assistance. Call or text or chat the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. There are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Or text HOME, HOME, to 741-741 to reach a trained crisis counselor through the crisis text line. Thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing day. Know that you are loved, and I'm looking forward to the next time on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Visit getrootedradio.com if you've missed any part of this hit show, and tune in on transformationtalkradio.com to live fearlessly in your more and powerfully rooted in your unlimited yes. For more information and to work with Erica directly, visit getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com, and get ready to live it up, love it up, and let it go.